we had a conversation off the grid about this last song here, but I'm gonna have to start this conversation on tape here. So this is about your dad?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. It's so you go a lot,
It's a completely true story.
right? I
Yeah.
figured it was, it's there's so many great lines in this, and it's so deep. You go through his life, how your parents met, a story well known, um, all of the things. I'll stop it because there's lines that, as I listen to this, the dozens of times that I listen to it, um,
I love you, man.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm a word guy, and I'm not going to have this conversation with you without trying to understand. And if I have a problem with something, I'll tell you. You really have gotten good at this stuff. When you first started songwriting, there was a lot of great stuff in it, but there was some stuff that just, kind of didn't have the jump that, now everything you do just leaves me breathless,
Oh,
you
thank
know?
you.
Yeah, and it's completely original because you refuse to fucking write, pop songs that actually, make sense to how the world hears stuff. But you've really gotten good at this long form thing, which I certainly value because I've done it quite a bit and I love doing it. But you've developed your own voice, your own style, and it completely fucking works. And
Thanks,
when
man.
I listen to these things, they're like, they're reading novels. It's like reading a novel. You have to like really go through the whole thing, understand how you develop it, what the elements are. And this song here is a big fucking song. So I'll start a little bit. I'll probably stop it right away, but who knows?
Just 12 years old when his mother died. He was an orphan though his father
Yeah,
survived.
okay, there's the first line that got me. Um, he was an orphan, though his father survived. So that line there, if you're going to be a writer, that line there opens up a whole fucking world of possibilities, right? Because okay, he's not an orphan. His father survived, but obviously, it's presaging right away that there's not going to be a father that this person grows up with in that way. It's an incredibly well written line. It
Thank you.
it just opens, it just blows a hole into whatever's coming. But I'm listening and I'm watching because I know something's going to happen now. But that line there is a powerful, effective freaking line. Okay, so here we go.
One of 18 born, so real number no one knows. She was only 39. Not
That's
welcome.
that's the other line there. There's 18 born, but the actual number no one knows. It kind of reminds me of my grandfather and grandmother. They're from the old country, and my grandfather actually bought my grandmother. She was from Romania, and that's what he had to do to date her. He had to buy her. Um,
Sure.
there were five that lived. This is in America. There's five that lived, but there were 19 pregnancies. That was the
Yeah.
grandfather that escaped the convalescent home to have sex with his
Yeah.
8-year-old wife, because she's still on it. Right?
Well, yeah. My no one actually does know how many brothers and sisters or live births, I guess, that Grandma Sally,
I
my
understand.
dad's mom, she did die when he was 12 years old. He had a lot of living brothers and sisters, and 18 that I guess, talking to my cousins who know more about this, I think it was around 18 that sort of survived into even
Right.
childhood. Though, those were different times, the
I
early
understand. I understand.
20th century.
But
But we do know from death records, if they're accurate, that she died when she was 39. She was never not pregnant.
yeah, every year. Yeah.
I don't know when she got married, when she first hooked up with Grandpa Sully, he was probably a product of his time. I have two Grandpa Sully stories because even though he lived about 20 miles away from me, I only met him twice in my whole life.
Right.
That's that's how involved he was with his grandkids, at least with us.
Oh,
Anyway,
and
to
the,
make a
and
long story short,
the,
yeah, yeah, man. I mean, my dad's life was incomparable to the privilege that you and I grew up with. Our probably both our parents.
no,
But my dad came from. People say they came from nothing. My dad came from less than nothing.
yeah.
So
Yeah, no, my dad got pulled out of school in seventh grade, and sometimes during the Depression they couldn't afford to have him, so they put him in the Catholic orphanage. Now he's a Jewish kid. He's
yeah,
got a lot of psychological problems because he was,
yeah,
those people didn't fool around, right? And
yeah,
he
yeah.
did eat. He was the last one, and they made him eat. This song here is going to be a big thing. This is the tease, but it's a really big song. All right, I'm gonna catch you on the flip side. All right.
All right, brother.
And this is conversation number 7, which is good. So we're really sort of tracking pretty well with some of the extra conversation. I like the picture without you in it. That was good.
Yeah, I was just trying to see. This is how I plan ahead for these things. I was trying to see if I had a copy of this CD around anywhere because I don't remember the track listing it
Yeah,
exactly.
I've got mine here, but because of the lighting deal, everything is too dark to actually see. So there you go. All right.
I
Anyway,
got a bunch of cool. I got a bunch of cool CDs. I got Larry McRae's new CD. I got Howard Levy's duets CD.
we could have a
Got
conversation with Howard sometime. That would be cool.
Yeah, yeah. My friend Larry McRae, who's blowing up right now, and deservedly so after many, 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 many years of just kind of. I've been listening to Slide Man's Slims,
I've been
Slim
Slim, yeah,
Halpern.
right? Yeah,
Holy shit!
yeah. He's
People don't talk about that cat enough.
and
And
he's
he's
also one
got
of the really, really great people that that you'll ever
great
run
guitar
into.
player. I
Yeah,
mean,
and he's got a great
nothing.
and his whole scene there. Okay, well let's get to Roscoe here. So let's continue to listen to this song. All right, and I'm going to hit go.
Not welcome at home. Stepmom couldn't cope. Sent to work a farm, then an uncle owned.
Yeah, I mean, sent to work a farm with Uncle Lone. You
Could
can
not
see what's
abide
happening
by
here.
Adventist decrees. Volunteered for war at only 17. The stories echo in my ears.
Age of 17. So, sure, he went to the uncle. I mean, can you imagine what that family's like with 18 kids? How many uncles and aunts are there? So it's not like you go into your uncle and they know your whole life and everything is really close. You're just, you're another mouth to feed in this endless amount of people that are
My impression is that it was uncompensated labor. That's for sure.
right. What happened with my grandma and grandfather? Just for a second, it's around the same time, probably different environments. But so he knocks on the door and says he'd like to date his niece. He goes, date her? You don't have to date her. You can buy her. Then they got married. I regret that I never found out what it cost. But there were 19 pregnancies, 5 of them.
Listen, man. I mean, it's, you want to talk about regrets? When I started writing this song, I polled my brothers and sisters and my cousins, and I called my uncle, and he wasn't home at the time. My uncle Larry is my dad's younger brother. They were very close. They were
Yeah,
like
right,
a two-person unit.
right.
And between the time that I called Larry and the time I sort of finished this song, I had the original version was an autobiography.
Right.
You think this is long. My
And
songs are long. That song would have, if we'd have recorded it, would have been
20
10
minutes.
minutes
Okay, yeah,
long.
sure.
So
I
I just kept squeezing and squeezing and
understand.
squeezing and
Yeah.
trying to get just the meat hanging off the bones. And so it's the lives that that generation lived well, I think I said it before. I mean, we have no comparison.
And
I mean, there are people in the United States who do. I certainly do not. I was given everything.
Right, right. No, I understand completely. And the reason I'm giving this kind of feedback is as I'm listening to it, it's reverberating, what I know about my family, and it's the same stuff, different completely. But each one of these lines, I keep stopping it because they're so fucking good. And, I mean, this story, believe me, viewers here, or whoever you're going to be, we're just at the beginning of this story. But I'm still listening. Okay, I won't give it to you, right? I'm listening still. No, I'm still.
Well, I should also say that I don't know. It's going to turn into autobiography again, but it's. I love my dad, and I like people to know his story. The family that he was sent to live with were apparently Seventh-day Adventists.
Right.
They had a very strict. It was a very strict upbringing. He wasn't allowed to play sports, and I think their Sabbath is on Saturday, which was messed up his social life and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it's his stepmom, who I refer to in this, and it's interesting because my Uncle Larry, who should be the bitterest man on earth because he had the same experience that my dad did. My dad was not bitter at all.
Right.
Both of those guys have nothing but sympathy for when I said the stepmom couldn't cope. She was like 19.
Right.
Dad was like 14.
14?
Yeah. When, I mean, it's a long, complicated
Oh,
story.
I see. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. When Dad's mom died,
Sure, she was
his dad went out and
just found a bride.
found a bride,
Right.
to raise the kids.
Right.
She was not competent. I don't even know what her story is. One of my cousins may, or Uncle Larry may, but it's a whole different.
I get it. This song, when I sang that, I'm still listening. That's the chorus. Because I mean, once again, you don't succeed at this kind of songwriting, unless you give the listener footholds. And this is extended songwriting. So in each foothold, you've got to have some sort of chorus, something memorable that the listener, I call them footholds, that the listener can then rest there for a moment and continue the journey. But, I've studied this song quite a bit, and I keep stopping after every line because every line is so freaking good. So let's continue here.
The stories echo in my ears, and when my pathway isn't clear, it's his guiding voice I hear, and I'm still listening. I'm listening still. I'm still listening. I'm listening still.
Okay, a few things. Is there a 12-string guitar in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that was that in 6/8? That chorus right there? I was counting it, and it had that feel.
No, I don't think so. I think
It
it's all
had,
four.
it had that feel.
Well, he's probably playing one.
It was.
No, it's.
I'm telling you, it had the feel to it. It's that 6/8 kind of rolling feel to it, which is a good dynamic, And if you did it, I would plaster you with praise, but it doesn't matter. It had that feel to me, and the drummer did do something that
Donnie Brown.
Yeah, that did give you a dynamic that said, okay, this is a different part. Listen, right?
Donnie Brown's amazing drummer.
That's
known all over the world.
That's how that's done. It's not
he
just
knows how to do that.
Yeah.
I want to say that the only other voice on this track is my brother Dave, and David had maybe sung
trumpet too at some point. So does he play trumpet somewhere? Because I saw it in the credits. He plays trumpet somewhere.
He plays trumpet on the final track.
Okay. Well, we're gonna save the final track for the final thing because that's a whole other world right there. Okay.
Yeah. But Dave had sung maybe
is or isn't in the morning, but that's okay. We'll have to. We'll get to that later. Okay.
Dave has a great voice, but hasn't done much singing in the studio. But I thought it was
Understand. Yeah.
important to bring him in
Right. Right.
on this tune, and I tapped his memories. He has a better memory than I do
You did
about some
that.
of these things.
I think you played me an early version of this, and I didn't like how it worked out, but you figured it out on this one. I think we had this conversation.
Well, I mean, we might have talked right at the top about the fact that this
No, no, no.
record
This was
was.
a few years ago when you sent me, as you were working on it.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because of the pandemic and a few other things, I probably spent more time and attention on these songs than I would have. And as you listen to various versions of songs, from me sitting down at the studio with the guitar and playing a shitty demo
Right.
to what ends, you know, this record more than anyone else benefited from all that time and attention to detail, and me sort of just listening to these songs over and over and playing them for my friends, and most of my friends are great musicians, so they always have input, and you're stupid if you don't listen to them.
Right.
And I do. So this song got smaller and bigger at the same time over the course
Understand.
of time.
This is a hazy memory, but you did send me this thing early on in progress, and one of the feedbacks I gave you is the harmonic, the harmony dynamic didn't work. It felt forced to me or something at the time, and you changed it because that felt great right there. So
Yeah, we had Dave singing a lot more.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
listened is
Yep.
what you did,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But that's again to people that are listening to this. That's how records get made. I send my stuff to Rosco. I play it. Sometimes I play stuff for people that I know what their prejudices are. I know how they listen and what they like and what they don't like, and I send it to them just to find out if they give me pushback on something that I'm not sure about, right? And that's one of my ways of doing it. And me and Roscoe, we always send each other, whatever the work in progresses are, and for as much as we can with each other, because there's a certain amount of, I don't know, just being supportive or whatever. You can kind of sense how much that person wants you to give back at the time, right? How much
That's
they
good.
can handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's
And
very perceptive.
yeah, and I sort of took a step further than usual, but I really that was one of the elements that I thought you really needed to work on because it just wasn't working the way it should, and you did something about it, and that was very good.
Well, those kind of artistic decisions are. My heart wanted Dave to sing every line. Dave's my
Right.
brother.
Right.
And he did a fine job. I mean, we had a version that has a lot more
I heard that.
harmonies on it.
Yeah.
But the what we wound up with is more impactful
I mean, if
because
it works,
because
it doesn't work.
yeah.
I say this thing to people: just because it's a good idea, doesn't mean it's a good idea. Sometimes you got to kill you. But that worked really good right there. And to where I said, was that Amy right there? Because it sounded that good. Let's
That
continue.
if my brother ever hears this interview, his head is gonna swell.
Yeah.
It's like he compared me to Amy Petty.
Well, just tell them, buddy, really now,
Love you, Dave.
just right. Yeah. Let's continue on.
Running wild at 21, a Navy vet out on the town. A hellion
Another verse, but now dynamics are up.
Octave up.
Yeah. Okay.
Octave up, more instrumentation.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. The dynamics are up. Right.
A hellion with an untamed heart, no thought to settle down. She was a sweet 15-year-old from an angry, troubled home. Met a charming older
And the
man.
story is well known as the end of this because it's so good, and it's so made an impression on me that I remember that. That's the end of this line. Is the story is well known. Really
Met a
freaking good.
charming older man. The story is well known. And nature ran its course. And nature had its say. Nature's eternal surprise. poor examples, either weak or absentee, had to grow up as they learn to make a family. And though it should have gone all wrong, against all odds their love was strong, and they wrote their own love song. A junior inherits a weight.
Man, that change was really freaking cool. You see, there's a
That was a huge discussion slash argument slash conversation about the bridge.
well.
Originally, the bridge was.
Let me just
Go
say
ahead.
something quickly first, and then explain it. Okay, again, as a songwriter, bridges are very hard to make. Anything is hard to make once you've established the groove, and most people just kind of ride on a groove and that's it. They don't do anything else. In popular music it works that way, but the the tradition of songwriting I come from, the Great American Songbook, there's verses, bridge, chorus, and it's hard to do. And so there that came in the middle of that big thing. And the key is to not lose the audience, not lose the listener. You're taking them on another dynamic, another part of the journey, and the key is not listening them, not losing them. And I completely, boy, I heard it. It hit me in the stomach, and now what's going to happen, right? So I'm going to put that back just a little bit, and you could
Okay.
say what you want.
Well, but I mean, this was a huge conversation, mostly between me and Andy.
Sure.
The bridge, which is usually after the second or third, well, the AABA form, it's the
Second
third
verse
time
after
around.
second or third verse,
Yeah, yeah.
how you did it.
So, but I had that last, and I think the first several recorded versions of this had the bridge last, call it the bridge or whatever, and I resisted moving it because I wanted to get the story out of the way before I injected myself
Okay.
into the thing, and I wasn't
Narrative,
sure
yeah.
people would follow me. The bridge is personal. The bridge is my it puts me in this song when the song
Right.
has been about my father the whole time,
Right.
and I didn't want to do that until the end.
Well, let's see how it works.
And to me, I think that was a legitimate choice. I still think it was a legitimate choice. Songwriting wise and taking the listener on a journey wise, Andy was right. We probably needed to move the bridge to where it is. And I'm perfectly happy with it now. It works this way too. But those are that is when you're in the studio doing stuff like this, those are the tough conversations.
Right.
And you sometimes have to be willing to say, I was wrong. Or not even I was wrong. It's like
No, I was wrong.
this is a 51-49 decision.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm 51 because I'm paying for the session, right? And you're 49 because you legitimately care. In this case, Andy Reid legitimately cares about this music and this song.
Right.
So it's like I just said, you know what, you're right. Let's do it. Let's see how it works. And I'm happy with it. I think if I do this song out live, I might. Which this is an easy guitar song. I can play this song. I might. Every night might be different.
Now I get it. I would say, I've been through this, a lot of times too. I would say it's more not like, well, you were right and we'll do it that way. More like, okay, I understand how that could work, and I understand why you think that way. And because, it's always give and take in this stuff. And sometimes when you're working with other people, and there'll be things that you're going to need to fight for a little bit more without hurt feelings. And, and that's just kind of how it works.
Well, when you're working with professionals, and all of these people that I work with are professionals.
Right.
Hurt feelings is right out the door. I mean, at least in my
Hurt,
experience. Now, I'm going with my experience. if it's especially, I mean, I'm paying for the sessions in this
Right.
case. The only person whose feelings can be hurt are mine, legitimately, right?
Well, let me change the words because hurt feelings. Sure, that can be that could be that could be taken that way. Just the way people operate and think. There's sometimes you come to a point with somebody where you can see further down the road than they can, let's say, and they would just really feel like this is the right thing to do. And also, you want them to feel that way and continue with that kind of
Have
input.
an investment.
Yeah. So you just, go, all right, that works. We'll go on. And, I forget exactly what this course is. I'm kind of curious to find out. I put it back the bridge, I put it back a little bit, but what I did stop was because the chord changed everything, and then I saw it went into the bridge because it was an immediate reaction. Oh, okay, what's going to happen, right? So there you go. All right.
Was strong, and they wrote their own love song. A junior inherits a weight, a patrimonial estate. Though I carry on his name, I'm not the same, but I'm still learning
That's fine. It makes sense.
and listening still.
Not only did it make sense, I can see your entire point of view there because it got a little twisted and you changed it. You extended because this is another game that people play and you play it very well. Is when you repeat something in a chorus, you change the element of it. So there's motion there and storytelling there.
Called progressive choruses. Yeah.
Oh, is it okay? Yeah. Yeah. So that worked right there. I can see the whole. It's interesting. I could see why the question went there and how the challenge to the storytelling for you from your point of view. But it worked fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And stop.
I'm still listening. I'm listening still. My oldest sister's tried his patience.
Actually, kind of that changing that melody gave you kind of the effect of a 5 chord, in that here's the end of it, and now it's going to change back to the beginning, right? So I don't know what supported by that. I kind of dug it.
My oldest sister's tried his patience. Their teenage battles paved my way.
Back to breaking that song down. So changing stuff. We got 10 minutes, and I think we'll get through it.
Teenage battles paved my way. And I was born a son, a junior, and Dave a favorite mistake.
I love that line, right? Dave, a favorite mistake, your brother.
Yeah, he was. Birth control in 1960 was not quite as effective.
I love that line. Well, my mother was born 18 years after her next youngest sibling. So there's a special.
Dave's only 3 years younger than me, but they in no way planned to have him. Of course, he wound up everybody's favorite because he's a charming, smart,
Well, it's also the young.
talented.
Loving, generous, and kind. He built a life to his own plan. And I cannot even imagine a better father or a man.
Yeah, I love that line too.
Gone now almost 30 years.
And also just your voice. You never would have taken these kinds of chances, and it's so effective because it's you telling the story in your voice. I love it. Right?
When my pathway isn't clear, it's his guiding voice I hear, and I'm still listening. I'm listening still.
Bigger a bit.
I'm still listening.
this solo here. It's quite beautiful. Let me just ask you a question. How many times did you sing this part, and when did you know you had it? This is just studio geek stuff, but
You'd have to ask Andy, to be honest with you. I remember somewhere in the process of recording this, we found a really great mic preamp,
yeah,
Pro Tools effects combination for my voice, my
this,
changing
this
voice,
version of
because
the voice,
my voice has changed, or my delivery of my voice has changed deliberately because I've worked on it.
right?
So
You would have never tried to sing something this big and emotional before.
I might have tried it, but I certainly wouldn't have pulled it off, and I probably would have,
Well,
just
it would have
not.
the song would have been produced differently, so you could get out whatever you got out there. But now,
Probably.
you're right there. It's like you and Amy on that other song. You're going for it. It's a big deal. So, okay, let's get to this solo here for a second, because we have 6 minutes and 37 seconds. It's gosh, it's a beautiful sound. Tell me about it.
Well, I'm 90% sure it was the Coles again, the Coles ribbon mic that Andy and I like to use for harmonica.
All right.
Um,
So you
and I,
played it acoustically into this mic.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
Right.
Andy has the way he tweaks his preamps. We're going to add a little tube saturation even to the acoustic
Right.
harmonica, and that's an Andy trick. You should talk to him about it because it's pretty big on
As you're
some
saying it,
levels.
I'm thinking about it, because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
guy I'm working with now doesn't get that. Yeah.
yeah. So even putting a solo on the end of this song was a it was a discussion. It was not for sure that I would do that. I should preface this by saying my dad played harmonica, so did my uncle Larry. Larry played mostly chromatic, and my dad played mostly diatonic. He played campfire
That's my
songs.
dad did too. Yeah, and that's what he
Yeah,
played.
yeah, yeah.
Red
So
River Valley,
we kind of always had a harmonica in the house.
right?
I didn't pay much attention to it as I was growing up. I never took it seriously. I messed around with it when I was a kid. I was in my 30s before I ever took it seriously.
Right.
My dad was still alive then. My dad died when I was 37. I was a late starter in the music business.
Right.
I was 32 before I ever played a note in public.
Right.
And for the 5 years in there that my dad was still alive, you cannot imagine a bigger Rosco harmonica fan than
Yeah.
my dad,
Yeah.
right? He didn't like the music I was playing at the time. He didn't understand what the hell I was doing, but he loved the idea that I was out there playing harmonica. My uncle Larry still does. God bless him. I love that
Yeah.
guy. And so when it came time to, like, okay, here's another long ass song, and Roscoe's going to tack a solo onto the end of it.
Right.
You could
I have the
legitimately
same
say, why?
I have the same
You could,
conversation with you, right?
yeah, you could legitimately say, why the hell did you do that? And I'm like, this is for my dad. That's the only reason there's a solo at the end of this. And we went to, my original idea was to kind of show off, be real Howard Levy, and because
right.
Dad would be like, woo, 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 and we did a bunch of takes like that.
I think on this record, what I've really liked